It's a Kevin Costner produced and directed Western epic. It's packed with stars and probably a little over long for a big budget Hollywood movie. But it's 2024, not 1991. This isn't Dances with Wolves, and neither the critics nor the box office liked it very much. I'm Joel Sharpton, podcaster, editor, and consultant. And my dad would have loved Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. Kevin Costner wanted to make this movie so badly he left Yellowstone in the middle of a season and maybe got divorced over it? I am all for a Kevin Costner Western epic, and even I think he could have waited a minute for this one. Just like with Taylor Sheridan, I do think Kevin Costner has a reverential love for this land and the peoples that have inhabited it. He clearly has a reverential view of the settlers that tamed it and turned that land into America, as well as an understanding and appreciation for the plight of the indigenous people that were replaced. I think he wants to portray both those stories on screen, but his personal handling of it is a little clumsy at times. Costner is far from alone in this pursuit, as he's joined by a host of stars. Sienna Miller, Sam Worthington, Michael Rooker, Danny Houston, and Luke Wilson, among others, even in this first chapter alone. The cast is not just famous, they're all game and doing their parts to raise this project into art. But the whole just doesn't quite hang together appropriately. I genuinely think Costner did this story a disservice by either not letting it cook a little longer, or even better yet, actually releasing it as a miniseries. This film is lesser because of the absence of Part 2. And unless Chapter 2 is significantly worse than this one, Chapter 1 wouldn't be harmed by releasing them at the same time. Chapter 1 will be instantly improved upon its release because the tale will at least be complete. Personally, I can't give this movie more than 3 stars just because of how incomplete it is. There is not a satisfying story here, even in 3.5 hours, and there well could have been. If we're all lucky enough to get Chapter 2 and 3 and maybe 4, then this will all play out differently in a few years when we can binge them like a proper miniseries. Right now, Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 is about a third of a pretty good Western. Hard to give that more than 3 stars, no matter how beautifully shot it is. As of this recording, you can stream Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1 on both Netflix and Max. It's my understanding that Netflix is to be the eventual home of Chapter 2, as well as potentially Chapter 3 and 4, though I think the specifics on both release time and long-term destination are all to be decided, as Costner still looks for a distribution partner for Chapter 2. Here's hoping we get to see them, even if he has to spend all his money to bring them to us. I've been Joel Sharpton, and while this one wasn't my favorite, Dad would have absolutely loved Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1. And I wouldn't be surprised if yours did too. Subscribe to the channel to get every episode, and stick around for a few more minutes to get our spoiler discussion. The single biggest surprise in this film to me was just how long we go without having Kevin Costner in it. His Hayes Ellison enters the film in such an insubstantial way, it really feels like we missed a section of the story that Costner decided to leave out. The good news is that Sienna Miller's Frances Kittredge and Michael Rooker's Sergeant Major Thomas Riordan are quite interesting enough on their own. One little note that Luke Wilson's Matthew Van Hayden has probably my favorite storyline of this first chapter, and I am very hopeful that he becomes a larger part of the whole narrative as the other chapters get released. It feels weird for me to be so lukewarm on a Kevin Costner Western, but it's even weirder that such a project would be conceived and executed even in the age of streaming services as multiple regular theatrical releases and not a classic miniseries or even a single season TV series. In the end, it probably won't matter how this series was conceived, but how it is received by audiences, which will mostly be through those streaming services.